Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this village board meeting to order on Monday, April 27, 2020, and ask if you would please rise and join the village board in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty
and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee LaBedz.
Here.
Trustee Rosenberg.
Where'd he go?
Trustee Rosenberg.
Where did he go?
He dropped off.
Trustee Scaletta.
Here.
Trustee Baldino.
Here.
Trustee Canty.
Here.
Trustee Padovani.
Here.
Trustee Tinaglia.
here.
Trustee Schwingbeck.
Here.
President Hayes.
Here. First item on the agenda tonight is the approval of minutes, and we have one set of minutes to approve tonight. That's from our village board meeting on April 6, 2020. Are there any changes or passes?
Move approval.
Second.
I believe it was Trustee Canty. And who was the second? Trustee Schwingbeck. We have a motion by Trustee Canty, second by Trustee Schwingbeck to approve the village board meeting minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Next, we move on to the approval of the accounts payable. And I call on Trustee Rosenberg if he's there. There he is.
Yeah, here I'm back. Thank you, Mayor Hayes. I'd move approval of the warrant register with a check date of April 15, 2020 in the amount of $825,159.29.
Second. Second.
A motion by Trustee Rosenberg, and the second was
Trustee Scaletta.
Trustee Scaletta. Thank you. Any questions or comments from the village board? Anything from the audience? Hearing or seeing none, roll call.
Trustee Rosenberg.
Yes.
Trustee Scaletta.
Yes.
Trustee Schwingbeck.
Yes.
Trustee Padovani.
Yes.
Trustee Tinaglia.
Yes.
Trustee Baldino.
Yes.
Trustee LaBedz.
Yes.
Trustee Canty.
Yes.
President Hayes.
Yeah, yes. Well, under recognitions and presentations, we first have a very special presentation in honor of the 100th birthday of a great American. I really call him our first citizen here in the village of Arlington Heights, and that's James P. Osler Sr. And if you recall, Jim was in the village boardroom at age 99 just last fall in recognition of receiving the French Legion of Honor for his distinguished military service as a B-17 navigator over France during World War II. And so he may be watching tonight. And so, Jim, if you are watching at home in our virtual meeting, we wish you many, many years more of life here on this earth. And I know you've lived a great life so far, accomplished many, many things. I wish I could have been at your birthday party, perhaps next year for your 101st. And so in honor of Jim Osler's 100th birthday, I would like to read this proclamation. Whereas James P. Osler Sr. was born the youngest of three boys to Charles and Joanna Osler in their family home in Melrose Park, Illinois, on April 28, 1920. He married his late wife, Audrey, in 1948, and they moved to Arlington Heights in 1955. Their first home was located at 1216 North Yale Avenue, and they later moved to a larger house at 612 East Oakton Street in order to raise their 7 children. Mr. Osler has now been a resident of Arlington Heights for 65 years. Whereas Arlington Heights is blessed to have many residents who have contributed to their community and country in countless ways. There is no greater example of someone who has selflessly served others than Jim Osler. Whereas Jim was awarded the French Legion of Honor by the Honorable Guillaume Lacroix Consul General of France to the Midwest in Arlington Heights on November 21st, 2019. The Legion of Honor recognizes eminent service to the French Republic, and recipients are named only by a decree signed by the President of the French Republic. Whereas Jim earned this distinguished honor during his service in World War II as a navigator with the 388th Bomb Group, and then as a squadron navigator for the 803rd and 36th Bomb Squadrons of the 8th U.S. Army Air Force in the European Theater of Operations. From September 1943 to February 1945, then Captain Osler participated in the Normandy, Northern France, Ardennes, Rhineland, and Air Offensive Europe campaigns, during which he flew 25 combat missions in B-17 bombers and became a member of the unofficial Lucky Bastards Club. Whereas Arlington Heights is proud to be the hometown of someone who has left such a great legacy of duty and honor for his family and community. Now, therefore, I, Thomas W. Hayes, Mayor of the Village of Arlington Heights, along with the Village Board of Trustees, do hereby recognize the 100th birthday of a distinguished citizen and great American, and wish Jim Osler many more years of good health and happiness. Happy birthday, Jim. We wish you many, many more.
Happy birthday.
I know we have many, many citizens in Arlington Heights that have reached this special age, and it's always my honor to recognize those who achieved 100 years of life and selfless service to our community. And so again, congratulations to Jim. We move on then in the agenda under recognitions and presentations to our COVID-19 update. This is the second in a series of virtual meetings that we will have to have as a result of the governor's stay-at-home order. If you recall, a couple of weeks ago, we had a kind of a hybrid virtual meeting where a few trustees were here in the village boardroom. This time we're 100% Zoom. And so please bear with us again as we deal with the technology involved in a Zoom meeting, especially one that requires us to have public comment and applicants here for various petitions. And so I think we've got everything worked out, and we'll move seamlessly through the meeting tonight, but please bear with us if there's any delay. But we do want to make sure that we entertain public comment tonight for the agenda items and also under citizens to be heard. But just with respect to our COVID-19 update, if you've been following the governor's press conferences, daily press conferences like I have here in my office and at home, you now know that we've come very close to reaching the peak of the bell curve. The question now, is it going to be a peak? Well, we will be immediately going down the other side, or will we be plateauing for a period of time? And so that question is yet to be answered. But clearly, we're seeing some very positive numbers in terms of the total number of positive tests and the number of COVID-19 related deaths in the state of Illinois. And so I know the governor and his team and Mayor Lightfoot and her team are very encouraged by the numbers that we're hearing. And that's one reason why the governor has, in his most recent stay-at-home order, has begun to look at ways to reopen the state of Illinois and particularly our businesses. And so we very much appreciate the efforts to begin that phased process. And it will be a phased process. So the only thing I do want to caution our community, although there definitely is some light at the end of the tunnel, I want to make sure that our community understands that the doors are not going to be flung wide open on June 1st at the end of the May 30th time period in the current governor's stay-at-home order. I expect from hearing from Governor Pritzker on various telephone conferences with him and his staff and his team, and with Mayor Lightfoot as well, that there will be a next step, a next phase in terms of the reopening. So it will be a gradual reopening. So we just want to caution all of our community, our businesses, to be prepared, to follow the guidelines not only in this next 30-day period, but also in whatever next phase we're going to embark in. But there is light at the end of the tunnel, I think, and so we're very encouraged. The message to the community that I want to convey tonight is just stay the course. We've done a great job, I think, as a community in following the guidelines. And as a result of that, our COVID-19 positive numbers remain relatively low. And that's because of the great work that our healthcare providers, our first responders, our residents have all done in following the guidelines and trying to keep each other and our community safe. And so we're very thankful for all the great efforts of all of our essential workers and our residents in complying with the guidelines. One of the most frequent concerns that I'm hearing now is that the mayor should enact a mandatory mask ordinance in the village of Arlington Heights. One of the provisions in the governor's most recent order is to make masks mandatory in all indoor public places as of May 1st. And so I don't feel it's necessary for us to enact an ordinance here in the village of Arlington Heights. We will have the enforcement capability to enforce the state order in this capacity. So just be prepared. If you're not already, I think everyone for the most part is already wearing face coverings in public places, grocery stores, banks, service stations, whatever. But it will become mandatory on May 1st throughout the state of Illinois in indoor public places. And so we will enforce that to the extent that we can. We're, as we have in the past, looking for voluntary compliance in the hope that we do not have to issue tickets. So please stay the course and we will get through this together. The last plea that I want to give to our community, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Recklaus for a more detailed update in terms of where the village is at, is to do all we can to help our businesses. They're struggling tremendously, especially our restaurants. And so I know many people are doing curbside pickup and delivery over the last few weeks, and I know they'll continue to do that over the next 30 days. But please do all you can to help our local restaurants and businesses. The governor has, in his most recent order, relaxed some of the requirements on non-essential retail businesses, where they will be allowed to provide for curbside pickup and delivery as well. And so please do a lot of shopping in our local businesses under the guidelines that we will be have to live under for the next 30 days. So please be a good neighbor in whatever way you can to not only our residents, but our businesses as well. With that, I would like to turn it over to our village manager, Randy Recklaus, for a little more detailed update in terms of what's going on in the village and what our residents and businesses can expect to see in the weeks and months ahead. Randy?
Thank you, Mayor. One of the more common questions we get, given all of the closures, is, are you open? Is the village open? And I want to stress tonight that the village still is in operation. The village hall is closed to walk-in visits, but every single village employee is still working. We've made modifications to our schedules. One second here. We've made modifications to our schedules and working locations to protect our employees and the public, but we're still here to serve the public during this difficult time as always. Many of our processes have changed, but we can provide almost every service that we always have, but sometimes in a different way. While we're encouraging our residents to do business with us over the phone or electronically, you can still make an appointment to do business at Village Hall if you need to. Given all these changes, I did want to highlight how some of our work has changed and how some of it has stayed the same. On the police side, nuisance complaints have gone up 369%. So people may wonder, what's a nuisance complaint? That's the category that complaints on social distancing falls into in our reporting. And so that has been a major part of the workload of our police department over the last few weeks. Traffic crashes are down 79%. Traffic-related incidents are down almost 70%. Criminally prosecutable offenses are down 59%, and domestic related offenses, including domestic assault, are down 13.3% from the same time period that is last year. So we're talking about March 21st through April 16th, I believe these numbers are through. And so that same period last year, that's the difference in the numbers. One area where we still are seeing a tremendous activity, believe it or not, is building permits. We've had, since the same period, we've had 316 building inspections, 165 electric inspections, and 244 other inspections. So our permit staff is busy. Compared to last year, during that same time period, our total inspections done have gone down about 14.3%. Building inspections are down about 4.2%. Electrical inspections are up 3.1%, and plumbing inspections are down 47%. And so what I wanted to point out is, with 769 inspections over the last few weeks, is our building department staff still is busy, as is our planning department. People are still investing in our community, which is a positive sign, and investing in their homes. So there is some version of life that is still going on. One department that's seen a significant change is our Health and Human Services Department, specifically in terms of requests to our Emergency Assistance Fund. This important program provides emergency help to residents in need. As one wouldn't expect, we have seen a large increase in applications over this time period, over the last month or so. The program is a means-tested program that focuses on short-term assistance for people who are having difficulty paying for basic needs such as rent. More information on the program can be found on our website at vah.com. But in terms of the stats, we typically we're seeing about 6 to 8 requests for assistance in a typical month before COVID-19. Since all this started in the last month, we've had 35 applications for assistance, 62 inquiries for assistance, and as we're kind of working through the applications, we've approved 18. So we've provided about $20,000 worth of assistance over the last month. But the positive news is Arlington Cares, which is a not-for-profit that funds a large percentage of our emergency assistance fund, has received almost $17,000 in donations during that same period. So we're very pleased with that. It shows that the community is stepping up. We're moving staff from other departments temporarily to our Health and Human Services Department to help keep up with this work, because we know we're getting more applications now and will for the foreseeable future. But if anyone at home would like to help support this program, you can make a donation to the program at arlingtoncares.org. Aside from residents in need, we know that our businesses are hurting as well. The village is currently working on a relief package for businesses in addition to the tax deferrals that have already been put into effect. And we'll be discussing them at our next board meeting in May. We have been receiving input from the business community, both from individual businesses and through the Chamber of Commerce. And we want to make sure that what we put together reflects the needs that businesses have that have gone unmet by state and federal packages to date. We're also looking seriously into ways we can be flexible with our regulations in order to help businesses based on their input. The COVID-19 pandemic is also having a significant impact on the village's budget. And that's something that staff is currently analyzing. There's been some correspondence going to the board over the past week on this, kind of outlining some of our current projections. There'll be more information coming as more information becomes available to staff. And while we have a job to do and our residents need us more than ever, we are looking at ways to tighten our belt to reflect the changing economic situation. And so far, we have identified over $1 million in things that we can cut temporarily for fiscal year 2020, and we're continuing to look at other areas that we can cut as well. And this will be a work in progress, and there'll be a lot of discussion over the next several months on this. But it obviously is a challenge for us to continue to work at a high level, and while we still have to try to find ways to live within our means. The last thing I was going to highlight was that another area of concern is the fate of our summer festivals. With the announcement of the extension of the stay-at-home order, we're examining possible cancellations of some of our planned summer events in June. Organizers have already canceled the Memorial Day Parade and public Memorial Day ceremony, as well as the Salute Run. There will be additional announcements on the status of the June events coming up in May. So stay tuned on those issues. With that, I would be happy to answer any questions anyone may have.
Any questions from the village board? All right, seeing none at this time, why don't we thank you, Randy, for that report. I know just on behalf of the entire village board, we thank you for your leadership and all the members of the village staff for all of their hard work during this very trying time. And so keep up the great work. Right, we will then move on in the agenda to citizens to be heard. And citizens did have an opportunity to submit emails to the village board to be read into the record and hopefully answered at this village board meeting. And we only heard from one resident in that manner, and that was Melissa Kayer. And let me just read her questions, and then I will call on Finance Director Tom Keeney to address those questions, if you would. Melissa's two questions are, do the pension fund actuaries consider the fund manager's performance as a variable in the calculation to determine how much money to put into the pension funds? And the second question, if several actuaries were asked about the pension fund numbers, would they come up with different opinions? Does every actuary use the same formula for the pension fund funding amount? Mr. Keeney, if you would.
All right, I'm here. Sorry for the delay.
There you go.
Thank you, Melissa, for those questions of yours. The first answer is in regard to, is the fund manager's performance a variable in the actuary's calculation? The answer to that is yes. The investment manager's performance is reflected in the dividends that are earned during the year, as well as the year-end market value of the fund's investments. And then for 2019, which ended 12/31/19, we had a very good year for the fire and police pension funds. The fire earned 15% and the police pension fund earned 20% for the year. Now that's changed over this year, but that was the measurement date that the actuaries used. So that was included in their report. In regard to the second question, and that's, do actuaries use the same formulas? Do they come up with different numbers? So the pension fund approves the assumptions and the method used by the actuary. So for example, there's an interest rate assumption, there's wage assumptions and the like. Those are approved by the pension fund for the actuary to use. So as long as all of the assumptions, as well as the method used by the actuary is exactly the same, it wouldn't matter which actuary you'd use, they should have the same results based on that. And that's it.
All right, thank you, Tom. Hopefully that answers Melissa's questions. I know she always comes up with some very good questions and challenging questions for us. Thank you for addressing those, Tom, and for your questions, Melissa. This is, again, the public comment period under citizens to be heard, and so now I'd like to open it up to other members of the community who might be joining us either by phone or by the Zoom video conference. And so are there any members of the community or any of those people participating in our meeting tonight who would like to address the board on an item not on the agenda? All right, I'm being told that we have no individuals who would like to address the board on an item not on the agenda. So I will close the public comment period under citizens to be heard. And we will move on in the agenda to old business, and there is none. So we'll move further on to the consent agenda. And I would first ask if there are any members of the board who wish to remove an item on the consent agenda. Hearing or seeing none, any members of the audience participating in one way or another who wishes to remove an item on the consent agenda? Hearing or seeing none, are there any members of the board who wish to vote no or pass on any item on the consent agenda? Hearing and seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Move approval.
So moved.
Second.
A motion to approve by Trustee Tinaglia, seconded by Trustee LaBedz. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none. Roll call.
Trustee Tinaglia,
Yes.
Trustee LaBedz,
Yes.
Trustee Scaletta,
Yes.
Trustee Canty,
Yes.
Trustee Rosenberg,
Yes.
Trustee Schwingbeck,
Yes.
Trustee Baldino,
Yes.
Trustee Padovani,
Yes.
and Hayes.
Yes. Well, we'll move on in the agenda then to new business, and we do have two new business items to consider tonight. And the first is a request for preliminary and final plat of subdivision to consolidate 3 existing lots into 1 lot for the property located at 710 North Dunton Avenue. And I would first call on our Planning Department Director, Charles Perkins, for a presentation. Charles, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can everybody hear me?
We got you.
Yes.
Okay, good evening, everybody. This item comes to you from the Plan Commission that held a public hearing in February, and they unanimously recommended approval of the subdivision. It is a subdivision of 3 properties. If I can, trying to get the PowerPoint to work. I'm having a few problems here. Just bear with me 1 second. So just apologize about that. Having a problem with the PowerPoint. Try one last time. Okay. I'm going to try one more thing if you can bear with me. Okay, so the request is to subdivide 3 25-foot lots into 1 consolidated lot that does meet the village requirements. The proposed subdivision is on Dunton Avenue, just north of Hawthorne, and it's highlighted on this exhibit in the 3 red rectangles here. This entire property, 7 lots, was under 1 ownership prior to 1959. And in December of 2018, there was an estate sale, and the property owner, the petitioner that's proposing this subdivision, also purchased these 2 lots, 2 25-foot lots to the north. A different property owner acquired the existing home, but the detached garage for that home is on this other property owner's property. The original proposal was to do a 2-lot subdivision, but there were some concerns with that. So the new proposal is just for the 3 lots to the south. The existing home is not non-conforming, and these 2 lots that were acquired are currently unbuildable without a different application. So the property in question, as I'd mentioned, 3 lots. It does exceed the minimum requirements for the area. And we did look at the whole area of 43 lots in the neighborhood. The average lot size is just under 8,000 square feet, and the lot that's being proposed is a fair bit larger than that. It does have access off an alley to the rear, and the Plan Commission recommended approval with 3 conditions. 1, subject to design review. 2nd condition, subject to the fee in lieu of, and then land dedication requirements. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Charles. And my understanding is that the petitioner, Kathleen Deligio, is available for questions if any of the board members wishes to ask any questions of the petitioner themselves. Otherwise, I'd open up to the board for questions. And Charles, you want to take down your PowerPoint? There you go.
I have a question for Charles.
All right, Trustee Tinaglia.
Charles, is there any concern in your mind about the remaining parcel to the north and whether or not whatever we do here tonight will have any impact on that for zoning requests down the road?
No, because it's separated with the current house that kind of separates this proposed subdivision from the 2 vacant lots. Well, 1 vacant lot and 1 that has the detached garage on. It is the same owner, but this really meets the requirements and should stand alone. What happens to those north 4 lots is a different question.
Good. That's my concern. I mean, what we're being asked to do here tonight is certainly reasonable, so long as it doesn't have some negative implications in the future.
No, it wouldn't. We feel a 75-foot wide lot is appropriate at this location. The lots immediately on the east side of the street are of equal size or larger. So this particular lot is consistent with the neighborhood.
Thank you, Charles.
All right, any other questions from the board for either Charles or the petitioner? Hearing and seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Got a motion to approve the petition by Trustee Padovani, second by Trustee Scaletta. Any further questions or comments from the board? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Right, thank you all, and congratulations, good luck to the petitioner. We will then move on in the agenda to our next new business item, and that's the Shirley Ryan Ability Lab, located at 3215 North Wilkie Road. This is a request for a land use variation to allow a physical rehabilitation center within the M1 zoning district. And variations are required for this request. And so I would first turn it over to Mr. Perkins for his presentation.
Thank you. Good evening again. This is a fairly straightforward application. It's a physical rehabilitation center. They do need a number of variations. Most of them are minor in nature. The main variation is for a land use variation to allow this use, as this particular use is not a permitted use in this particular zoning district, which is an M1 manufacturing district. They do need a small parking variation. We've looked at the parking study that was done, and we believe there's sufficient parking for that. And they are also proposing an accessory structure, which is a covered canopy for patrons to enter and exit the building in inclement weather. The property is located in the industrial area just east of Wilkie Road on the south side of Central Drive, so it's not adjacent to any residential neighborhood or areas. This exhibit shows where the proposed canopy would be added. And again, it's a detached structure, so that triggers a couple of variations for the height and size of an accessory structure. This is the structure. So for all intents and purposes, it's a use that's fairly similar to a medical facility, just doesn't fall within our category for a permitted use, so it needs a land use variation. It was unanimously recommended for approval by the Plan Commission and Staff Development Committee. There were a few conditions of the recommendation. And at the earlier virtual board meeting, the board did allow the Shirley Ryan lab to move forward at their own risk with constructing the interior of this building for their needs. They had submitted and received a permit. And this is just to get the proper approvals for the land use to move into the facility. And again, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Charles. And my understanding again is that the petitioner does have two representatives present, their attorney, Kathleen Duncan, and Shirley Ryan, the petitioner, is also available for questions, but any members of the village board have questions for either Mr. Perkins or the petitioner?
I have one question for Charles.
Trustee Schwingbeck.
So Charles, when I was looking at the preliminary plans and then again these that we had, there was a schematic on there that showed the canopy, and I did look at the project as it was already started. I don't see, I want to make sure that the footings for the canopy on the outside, it looks on the canopy plan that they don't come out any further than the parking sites that are along that southern part of the building. Can you just let me know if they come out even with those? Because it looked like the traffic flow in there as I drove around, I want to make sure that two cars can pass by there without going under their canopy, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does, Trustee Schwingbeck. The canopy will protrude over the existing parking spaces. So 12 spaces will be lost to provide this canopy and pickup and drop-off area.
Okay.
But it is all within those 12 spaces, not within the drive aisle that continues beyond that.
Okay. So those piers and those brick footings and little walkway don't come out any further than the back end of the existing parking spots.
Correct. If you can kind of visualize a row of cars and kind of the back bumpers of those cars, that is the approximate alignment of those, piers that hold up the canopy that are furthest away from the building. Okay. So it does not intrude into the required drive aisle.
Okay. No, it's a great facility there. I definitely like it.
Any other questions from the village board? Let me see if there's any questions from the audience on this agenda item. No questions from the audience, I'm being told. I would like to give just the petitioner a chance to say a few words if they would like. Otherwise, we will entertain a motion. So if you could, board, just delay just a second to see if the petitioner would like to say anything. Okay, petitioner, go ahead. I don't know if it's Kathleen or Shirley.
Yes, good evening. This is Kate Duncan. I am the attorney for the Shirley Ryan Ability Lab. And we just really would like to thank everyone at the village for their help with this project. Staff has been tremendous in guiding us through. We're very excited. Shirley Ryan Ability Lab is very excited to come to Arlington Heights. We think this is going to be a wonderful location to serve a population of people that really need it most. And so we're very excited about this location in this application. We are here, myself, Kate Duncan, I'm here to answer questions. I also have Lori Tenzer here with me tonight, who is the Deputy General Counsel for the Shirley Ryan Ability Lab. We also have Monica Santilli, who is going to be the Program Director for this particular facility, actually an Arlington Heights resident as well. And then we also have Todd Eichen, who's our architect, available tonight too. So if there are any other questions, we're here and happy to answer them. And thank you all for your consideration.
Great, thanks, Kate. Any other questions from the village board? And once again, let me ask if there's anything from the audience. Hearing none, let me entertain a motion. Trustee Scaletta.
So I would be honored to make this this motion. I think this is it's a great facility and a great location on our north end. And so I'm very excited that they're coming to town, and I would move approval.
Second.
A motion by Trustee Scaletta. Let's give the second to Trustee Tinaglia. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Well, congratulations to the whole team at the Shirley Ryan Ability Lab. Welcome to Arlington Heights. I know you're going to do great things in our community and the surrounding communities as well. And so, again, welcome to Arlington Heights. Best of luck to you all.
Thank you so much.
All right, there is no other new business. And so we'll move on then to the report of the village manager. Mr. Recklass, do you have anything else this evening?
Nothing further.
All right, we'll move on then to petitions and communications from the village board. Anything from the board members? Trustee LaBedz.
Thank you, Mayor Hayes. I just want to thank so many of the residents who are stepping up and helping one another here during this time. You see it with people helping to go get groceries for seniors who are unable to get out of their homes themselves, people making face masks for others. And one person that I unfortunately don't know his name but would like to mention is a young man, a sixth grader here in Arlington Heights, who is making face mask and the straps for that. He saw a need from his neighbor who is a nurse, and his mother, who works at the Arlington Heights Memorial Library, was able to get a hold of one of their 3D printers, and the young man is making the face masks here in his home. And I think that's just a wonderful thing. It was profiled on CNN. You can find that online. And I'm so sorry that I don't know his name, but I do want to thank him. And also to thank the other schools that are helping out. District 214 is another that is helping with face masks, and as is Harper College. So thanks to everyone who's stepping up and helping one another. This really is the city of good neighbors.
Thanks, Robin. Well said. Trustee Rosenberg.
Thank you, Mayor. I would concur with what Trustee LaBedz said, but also would again encourage, as what the mayor had said previously, for all the residents to continue to utilize any services that are open or avail themselves of, especially restaurants and carry-out facilities for food, because they are definitely hurting and in dire need of business. So whatever business we can give them, buy a gift card, anything we can do to help those businesses would be greatly appreciated by those businesses as much as people can do that. So I would encourage that. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Bert. Trustee Canty.
Just to kind of pile on to what Bert had said, I appreciate what Robin said. That's great news. To pile on with Bert, to request that people do curbside pickup, or request that they can do a contactless curbside pickup as opposed to delivery, where they're able to do that. That helps the businesses even more.
All right, thank you.
Correct.
Anybody else? All right, seeing none, let me just wrap up by saying again, thank you to everyone in our community for their part in doing all we can to get through this together. There's so many different moving parts, but we're a team. And I know the school district, the park district, the library, the townships, everyone's working together on this to get us through. We'll get through to the other side. But as I said earlier, stay the course. And we will be watching baseball games, I truly believe, sometime this summer. And I'm very much looking forward to it. So again, thank you all for joining us tonight. Have a great month of May. I think we'll be meeting again virtually before the end of May. And we'll iron out any other bugs that we've had, and we'll get used to this, and hopefully it won't be normal. We'll get back to meeting in person, hopefully sometime this summer. So again, thank you all for joining us. If nothing further, then I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
moved.
By Trustee Canty, seconded by Trustee Rosenberg. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you all for joining us this evening. Stay well.